But why? When you tell your friends that you bought a 20 lakh rupee car, they're going to be excited. And when you tell them that it is a Tata, the question they're going to ask you is, but why? And well, we've got that 20 lakh rupee all-new Tata here, the Harrier, and we've got very limited time with it, just about 5 hours to get to know it and try to answer that question. Why would you spend 20 lakh rupees on this Tata Harrier? Before we go anywhere, we have to talk about the distinctive face. The way the LED DRL's come turn indicators sit right on top with the headlamp unit stacked underneath makes the Harrier stand out. Underneath those are the fog lamps that also double up as the cornering lamps. Then when you swing around to the side, you'll find in terms of lighting you get bundle lamps with the Harrier logo. For an in-depth look at the Harrier's design, the headlamps, take a look at a walk-around video, the link to which is in the description. And finally, at the rear, you get cool fused LED elements in the sharply styled 3D tail lamps. Is the design wow? I'm on the fence here. This Tata, in my books, looks a bit awkward in parts. It's from the side that it looks the best and the most purposeful. The key thing that gives it the right look, that quintessential SUV look, is the platform. The Harrier is based on Land Rover's Discovery Sport platform, and that makes a couple of things very obvious. This looks like an SUV and it is a big one. It's bigger than anything in its class and bigger than everything a little bit above as well. Again, using the CR-V as an example, this is longer by a fair bit. So this is a sizable vehicle with a good amount of street presence. And of course, if you're talking about an SUV, the ground clearance is 205 mm. That's unladen though. But trust me, with those short overhangs at the front and not much hanging out behind the rear wheels, this should be quite capable if you take it over some rough stuff too. The number to keep in mind is 200 kilograms. That's by how much the Harrier is lighter than the Discovery Sport. The front suspension is the same, it's carried over, the independent front suspension, whereas the rear is new for the Harrier because this is not independent, this is a twist beam setup. And that aside, what else is common? The HVAC system, which is the air conditioning system, that's also been carried over from the Discovery Sport. And that reminds us, we should get inside now. Okay, so some of you asked us, does this feel like a Tata or does it feel like a JLR? You tell us, what do you think this looks like? Well, if you ask me, it doesn't look like a JLR for sure. Tata have created their own identity with this, but what it does feel like is a more upmarket experience. And whether it's by the materials they've used, you look at the dash top, this is soft touch plastic. It really does feel premium. And you look at that wood grain that they've used, it looks like textured wood. And I actually touched it thinking that it is textured wood, but it's not. You've got this fully automatic air conditioning system on this top-end XZ variant. You've got this 8-inch center infotainment display, which is in landscape mode. And I like that because it's still wide and easy to use, but it doesn't eat into your view out of the cabin when you're driving. And along with that, you've also got a 7-inch display here for the driver. And these two kind of talk together. So if you're using Android Auto, that's the only thing on offer right now. With the infotainment system, Apple CarPlay will be on offer later. Navigation instructions also pop up on the 7-inch display over here so that you don't have to look away when you're driving. Same thing works with the music you're playing, so it's just that much easier, that much safer. And talking about audio, the 9-speaker JBL setup on the top-end XZ variant is plain incredible. It makes you feel like you're in the front row at a live performance. Tata Motors' specialty is making things practical, and you can see there's tons of storage all around the cabin, whether it's here in the console between the front seats, in the door pockets, but there are a few oddities. For instance, the USB plug-in is somewhere down here. You can't see it. Trust me, to see it, you'll have to do this. There. And then get your hand in there. I know. It's plug the cable in once and leave it there. Don't take it off. That's the simple solution. And then whether it's the armrest, the storage under that, it's a press button, which is to me a bit illogical. It should have just been a push lever. And when you get inside, you've got a little bit of storage there, which is also cool bin. And I've got to show you this as well. There's a pretty large glove box on offer here. That's pretty impressive. So yes, it's practical, and the driver also gets an 8-way adjustable seat, not power adjustable.
Some people would say there could have been more features like ambient lighting and cooled seats. But what I would have loved to see would have been more sophistication, at least at the touch points, like the gear lever.
And if you're wondering where the parking brake is, well, right here. It's not the most ergonomic, and if they wanted to really up the style quotient with that, I would have liked it if it was more flush with the floor console here. Now, in terms of features, what are the misses? Well, one thing that a lot of you have been asking us about is the sunroof. Not here, not now at least. And other than that, a small detail is this IRVM. It's manual, no automatic. Talking about misses, what do you think about the steering, boss? The rest of the cabin looks like that, and this looks like this. Does it fit in? Let us know.
But it has substance.
Well, it's clear that Tata is aiming for a 5-star rating with the Harrier when it comes to safety, because you look at the top-end XZ variant, it's got 6 airbags. ABS, of course, it's got ESP, ESC, and along with that, it's got added-on features which up the safety quotient. There's rollover mitigation, there's brake disc wiping, which is very simply a system that cleans the discs of water when it's in rainy conditions so that braking is more effective when you need it. And of course, it's also got hill descent control. So all these small things add up to make it that much easier and safer to use. The base variant, which is the XE variant, that starts off with dual airbags and ABS as standard. I absolutely love the fact that Tata have stuck to the core of being Tata even while going premium. This back seat is just so impressive. Look at the amount of knee room on offer, great amount of headroom. Practicality hasn't taken a back seat. You can see it with the seat design itself. It looks flat, right? It is, because that makes it that much more comfortable for the middle passenger here, and you could sit 3 abreast over here with great amount of comfort. And it's not just accommodating 3 passengers, it's even the smaller details. Look at the door. Of course, there are slots for a 1-liter water bottle, some other knickknacks, and there's a special tray that's been designed in for you to keep your cell phone on. Really nice, thoughtful touches. This is a place that you could easily spend your time in. And keep in mind, you also have a USB charging slot here, so you can tuck your phone in here quite easily and keep it charging on the go.
The only thing missing on this comfy bench is recline adjustment. But let's not get too comfy, let's get going.
Now, as you get inside, there are a couple of things that you will have to get used to. First and foremost is the blind spot right about here. And that's because the A-pillar is really chunky, raked towards you, and there's a big ORVM. Big ORVM is good, but when you're making U-turns, you have to really be careful to look around them. Well, that aside is getting the seating position right. Finding the right one is a little bit tricky. Unless you're tall, I'm sure taller occupants will be able to find the right setup pretty quickly. Shorties like me will have to work around a bit.
It also feels plenty wide, so you will have to get used to that.
The transformation from Discovery Sport to the Harrier has also involved a change in the window line, which is now higher. The A-pillar is more raked, which is what makes it look more sporty. But what it does for the driver is that it makes it feel like you're sitting more inside the car, whereas in the Discovery Sport, it feels more like a traditional SUV where you're sitting on top of things. Now, Tata could have got an Ingenium engine from JLR, but that would have made it too expensive, which is why they opted to go for Fiat's 2-liter diesel engine. Now, this has been detuned. I would actually call it retuned. It's perfect for city usability, got lots of torque at low RPMs because it has an electronic variable geometry turbo, which really helps it spool it up and give you the drivability you want right from low RPMs. So you can just crawl around in city traffic calmly. The city mode, you have 3 drive modes. The city mode is apt for that kind of usage. And of course, if you're looking at city usage, you'd like an automatic, which is not on offer right now. It's under development. It's a gearbox from Hyundai, and we'd expect to see it a year on from now. Now, if you're looking to cruise, do long distances, the Harrier will make for an able companion because it's got the punch from the engine, and the chassis and suspension give it great amount of composure. Now, the Harrier is a surprisingly lively car to drive. I love the way it steers. For something this big, it's really quite eager. The only thing is the brakes, which feel adequate for normal usage, especially for hard braking. We do feel a little bit more bite would have been nice.
Just for the record, the Harrier uses disc brakes at the front and drums at the rear.
And if you are somebody who spends a lot of time on the highway, likes to cruise and is into that kind of thing, you also have cruise control on offer on the Harrier. One area where the Harrier could have and should do better is in terms of noise insulation. It isn't just the engine noise coming into the cabin, it's even the ambient noise, whether it's tire noise, whether it's passing vehicles, that should have been damped out better. And that would have multiplied the sense of luxury inside the cabin manyfold. An SUV with Land Rover DNA. You know what that means? The worse the roads get, the more composed it feels. I'm not kidding. This just flies over poor surfaces, whether it's at low speeds in the city or over broken patches on the highway.
A wheel size of 17 inches allows for a tall sidewall, which is great for rough roads. But Tata could have used 18s too, and those would have looked better too.
But of course, one thing that people will feel is a bit of a miss is that there is no all-wheel drive hardware on offer. And Tata isn't likely to offer it anytime soon either. Tata is offering 2 additional drive modes, especially for tricky conditions. One is wet roads and the other is rough road. Now basically, these modes adjust the throttle map, the engine map and the ESP intervention to give the Harrier a greater sense of composure when tackling these kind of roads.
So you can expect the Harrier to manage more rough roading than most people would ever need.
I'm going to put out a small caveat here. The cars that we're driving here, I'm treating them as kind of pre-production prototypes. So there have been a few small misses with the infotainment system where it died out, but now I know how to do a hard reset. Just hold the power button and the option button down and that's it. It reboots it just fine. And that aside, there are a few fit and finish issues, but those should be ironed out when the Harrier hits showrooms early next year.
So the wait begins till January 2019 when we get to see the Harrier in Tata showrooms.
Tata's Harrier, it's turned out to be a surprise. It's really quite impressive. If you're looking for something for everyday duties, it's got the drivability, it's got the comfort. If you're looking something for highway stints, it's got the punch, it's got the composure. It's got space for the family, it's got the engagement for the driver. Is it without grouses? Yeah, there are a few. Some that you could learn to live with and some that you could easily overlook. Mine is the fact that it could do with better sound insulation, which would make it feel that much more premium. But that aside, for a car that's expected to be priced between 16 and 20 lakh rupees on road, this is looking like quite a steal. So, if your friends ask you why you bought a Tata Harrier for 20 lakh rupees, you know what you should do? Ask them to hop in and take them for a test drive.